What's good, guys? So in this video, we are going to be talking about 5 profitable ideas for building a no-code app. And so in the first part of the video, I'm going to be talking about how you can build your very own app and some of the tips and tricks that you should follow for making it the easiest way possible, okay? And I'm going to be telling you things that you should do and things that you should avoid. And in the second part of the video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 great ideas for building a very profitable no-code app, all right? So before we start, when you're building an app, you want to be keeping in mind various things. The first thing is that you're looking to build a so-called MVP, which is a minimum viable product. You're not looking to build an all-out app with, the whole bells and whistles and everything like that, and all the features that you want or you think the users want or anything like that. Do not make this mistake. That is a mistake that I made during my days of building apps, and I learned this the hard way. And the other thing you do not want to do is, when you're building an app, you don't really want to lock yourself in the closet, so to speak, figuratively speaking. Build this app in a month, 2 months, and then go out and try to market it. You want to be continuously talking to your users, continuously getting feedback when you're out building an app. And so as an example, right, let's say we have an app called Sales Flare. And this is an app I'm going to be covering in a little bit. And one of the nice things about this app, and it's just like Trello in a way, is that you have a UI that looks like this, and there are ways of dragging different companies, right? This is a CRM app, so you have different companies they're at various stages of the progress on their journey. So, for instance, you have a lead here. These are all leads. These are all contacted, qualified, proposals, won, etc., etc. So, typically, the way this works is that you can typically drag this little card here from one column to another, and that is great. That is done using JavaScript. But whenever you're building an app using no code, you do not want to worry about all these bells and whistles, all this crazy UI. And my rule is, when you're building an app as an MVP, do not even worry about JavaScript, because JavaScript and all these UI bells and whistles, these are not going to be the things that will eventually determine whether your app is going to be successful or not. It's really about solving a problem. And yes, the UI is gonna, accelerate the growth if the app is already a success, but it's not gonna, be that, make it or break it point. So if your app is not good, it's not in demand by users, and you go out, build this like really nice UI and things like that, it's not gonna set it over the edge. If the app is not wanted by users, if the app is not in demand, no amount of features and, UI bells and whistles is gonna make a difference. So keep that in mind. I learned this the hard way, and that is why I'm sharing with you these tips. And so the idea is, when you're building your app, you're looking at the very, very first prototype. You're looking to build this thing and then go out and show it to users that might be interested, that have a problem you're looking to solve, and see if they would be interested in using your app to solve a problem. If not, you want to ask why. You want to kind of work with them out and see what you can do, or see if there's really a need for a solution for a problem. Because sometimes what people do is they build solutions that chase a problem that doesn't exist. So they go out, they scratch their own itch, so to speak. They build an app, and at the end of the day, there's really no problem that needs to be solved with that app or any other app. So keep this in mind. I'm going to be making another video that's going to go into this more comprehensively. I'm going to be talking about exactly what you need to do whenever you want to build an app. But this was just a very, very quick introduction to the lean startup method, the MVP method. All right. So having said that, let's go into our 5 profitable no-code app ideas. So the first app idea I want to cover is CRM. Okay, so what exactly is CRM? CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management, and all it really is it's a way of tracking where you are with your customer before they are even your customer. So initially, they're just a lead. They're just somebody out there. They may not have heard about you, or maybe they have heard about you, but perhaps you haven't really contacted them yet. They're just somewhere out there. Okay, so like for instance, this is a really good example, the salesflare.com, and they have leads, contacted, qualified, proposal, and won. And CRMs are in great demand right now, because when you think about CRM, right, CRM is all about making money. It's all about tracking money. So as you can see, it says here, won a 74,000 euro contract in this example. And well, that's money, right? So if you can build an app that, lets people track how much money they're getting and allow them to get them closer to winning a contract with a lot of money, they're going to be willing to pay for an app like that. So CRM is the first example. And let me talk a little bit about how you can possibly develop a CRM system. So the first thing you want to do when you're developing any kind of app is you want to think about the UI, right? You want to think, what are the users going to be interfacing with, right? So there's going to be a screen that's going to, list all this stuff. So for instance, I have here the first screen, right? This is going to be our kind of main user screen, right? So this is where they're going to see all these little cards here, and they're going to, they're going to move them from row to row. When you're building an app, you want to keep things simple. You want to start with the UI, and then later you can talk about the database, you can talk about different features, but you want to start with the UI, because if there's no view or there's no page that a user needs to interface with, then that's all of that functionality, all of those features are not needed. It starts with the UI. And of course, you can have some backend tests and things like that, but in the beginning, it's going to be UI. And so here we have kind of that main page. You might have another detail page where they're going to, enter company name, whatever, the status, stuff like that. I'm not going to go in great detail about this. I just want to kind of go with you on a high level so that you guys can understand, how to work this. And then later on, I'll have more comprehensive videos where we're going to cover one of these case studies in a more detailed way. The next thing you want to think about is the database structure on a very, very high level. How is this going to work? So for instance, we have here your typical CRM, right? We can book a demo, we can try it for free. But typically this UI is kind of all you need to know to understand how it works. And so in this example, what is the central element that we're working with, right? If you go in here, the central element is the company, it's the business, right? Because that is the thing that moves from one column to another, right? So in this example, it's this thing, it's this box here, right? Because today, it's this box here, right? This is the name of the column. It's these boxes here. Today, this is a lead. Tomorrow could be a contacted. The next day could be qualified. Or maybe, one day it's a lead, the next day it's won, right? So that is the way you want to think about. The main thing in this example, in this first example, is going to be the company, right? Because that is the thing. It's not going to be the users. It's not going to be anything else. It's going to be this. This is our primary entity. Of course, you're going to need the users. You're going to need, something else. You're going to need some permissions, authentications, authorizations, all that. But in the beginning, this is what you're looking at. And that is all I kind of want to cover in this example. I don't want to go too deep. I just want to go through the list and show you, get your juices flowing, okay? The next really good profitable idea that you can build using NoCode is time tracking. Okay, so here I have Clockify, and they claim that they are the most popular free time tracker for teams. Time tracking software used by millions. Clockify is a time tracker and timesheet app that lets you track work hours across projects. Okay, so time tracking is very, very important. There are many uses to time tracking. For instance, if you're a freelancer and you have a project, you're working maybe with Upwork, or you're working with a private client one-on-one, they're going to be paying you by hour typically, right? Depending on your arrangement, they're going to be paying you by hour. So what freelancers do is they work with these time tracking apps that allow them to exactly time track what they're doing, how much time they're spending on a task, how much time, it took them to complete a project, took them to complete a milestone. So this app, again, just like the previous example, this is a business app. And with business apps, there's going to be money to be made, right? So here we have an example, right? This is UI. Everything starts with the UI. Like, I'm a huge believer. I've built many, many apps. I worked with many, many apps in Silicon Valley. And everything starts with the UI. You want to keep things very, very simple. You don't want to start with a database. Database comes later. You want to start with the UI, right? So here we have Clockify, and we have a nice UI. We can kind of play this, and they have a demo here. You can kind of get an idea. And what we're looking at is we're looking at the UI, because everything is UI central, okay? So here we have a UI, we have a timesheet, time tracker, calendar, expenses. We have all of these features. But the main thing here, when you're starting out, remember, we're building our MVP, is that we want to track events. And so when you think about the main thing you want to track, right, let's go to our diagram, and we're going to have the UI, right? So this is our UI. Let's go into right here. This is our UI here, and this is where we can track. So for instance, on this screen, it says here today, yesterday, etc., etc. So this is what the user sees, right? They see a task, and they see the amount of time spent on the task, and maybe they can see the start and finish of that task. And then it's going to be grouped by dates. It can be grouped by days. It can be grouped by weeks, by months, whatever. But the purpose here is that you're going to have your UI, and you're going to have various entries, okay? And now, excuse me if it's not perfectly arranged. But so you're going to have a list, right? So in this example, it's grouped by days. And here it's probably even grouped by weeks, right? So this thing is a day, this thing is a day, and then all of this is under this header by weeks. And that's kind of what they chose to do. And that is something you can do as well. But in this example, I'm just listing different events. So, I did this. This could be writing documentation. This could be writing code. And then we have amount of time from where to where. That is kind of the main UI. Of course, you're going to have another screen here where you're going to enter the data for a specific task. You want to enter data that you're doing. So let's say I started, to write documentation. This is my entry screen, right? I'm going to say, okay, I wrote documentation. This is when I started. And then when I'm done, I'm just going to hit, okay, I finished. And then it's automatically going to calculate the amount of time it took for me to do it. And, when I started and when I finished. And then it's all going to bring it together. This app can look very intimidating. It can look very complicated. But trust me, please believe me, this is a very, very simple app. It's just, they like to make things very, very complicated. A lot of these features are just a bunch of functions that, manipulate the data that the user enters. So keep that in mind, all right? This is kind of what we have. Now, when we talk about our main entity, right? Our main entity, what is our main entity? Well, our main entity is a task. It's a task. Of course, we're going to have users. We're going to have all these different things, different projects, all that. But at the end of the day, it's a task, right? So if we go in here, it's a task, right? This is by, entering new task. And this is displaying new tasks. And so that is how you built it. Now, when it comes to extra features, right, all of these, time off, reports, projects, expenses, all of this is extra, right? All of this is extra. In the beginning, it's really about entering, displaying, and that's it. And later on, you can add reports, projects, expenses, etc., etc. Because in the beginning, that's all it really is. And then when as you're talking to users, you can add more features, you can remove features, you can do a lot of interesting things, but all of that comes later. The next idea for a profitable no-code app is an appointment or a scheduling system. So here we have Calendly, which is an easy scheduling ahead. Calendly is your hub for scheduling meetings professionally and efficiently, eliminating the hassle of back and forth emails that you can get so you can get back to work, all right? So what exactly is this? Well, it's very, very simple. Let's say I want to do consulting for no code, and I don't want to do it for free. I want to get compensated as well, right? So what I can do is I can log in, create an account, and what people are going to do is I'm going to give people a link, and they'll be able to go out and schedule, according to their own schedule and my own schedule to see if, these things match up. And they'll be able to schedule a conversation with me, maybe some kind of consulting with me. Maybe they have questions about, building an app or implementing something, and they can go out. So this is a great app in the age of freelancers, in the age of sole entrepreneurs, in the age of sole proprietors. This is an amazing app. And the way this app works, let me show you in the beginning. It's also very, very simple. Let me remove all this and I'll just show you exactly how it works. It's the same idea as kind of the previous apps, right? You have your UI, and this is where a user, just like me, if I'm using the app, and of course you're gonna have the customers, you're gonna have somebody like me, which is the person that's selling these services, and you're gonna have the customer that's viewing these services. But we're looking for the main screen. The main screen is gonna be my screen, okay? The user might have an email link, or they're gonna have an email reminder. It's not a requirement for the user and end user to actually have a UI, although that's possible. Depends on the requirements and the specs. But typically, I am the owner. I'm somebody who is selling services. They are targeting me, right? So this Calendly, they're targeting me. They're not targeting other customers, because they know that I'm the one that's selling the services. If I choose their app for selling services, the users are going to automatically see this app. And so the way we have here is we have a calendar, right? So we have 1 month here, we have another month, we have another month, a bunch of months, 12 months, whatever, how many you want to show. And then you're going to have various days. And then if you click on a day, you're going to see all the appointments. That could be a calendar view, it could be a yearly view, a monthly view, and then you're going to have a list of appointments. Okay, so for instance, it's 5 p.m. right now. From 6 to 7 p.m., I have an appointment with John. From 7 to 8 p.m., I have an appointment with Rob. From 8 to 9 p.m., I have an appointment with Nick, right? That's kind of the idea. And then we have another screen, right? You guys should see a pattern by now where you can enter appointments, right? So this is where I specify my schedule, and then other users, they come in and they pick a time and place according to my availability, a time frame, and this is where end users can come in. They could pick a time according to my availability, a time frame, and they can fill it out. And then, they know it's available because I already specified my availability on my schedule where I'm free to kind of do stuff. And then whenever, a new user comes in and they enter their, preference to do consulting or whatever, this system is going to mark those days off, that it's going to mark the time frame off of availability. So, the next person cannot double book. They cannot book at the same time. And so we kind of have these two main screens. And what is our main entity? Well, again, our main entity is that time frame. That is the key here. It's an event, right? This is our main entity. And there's going to be a lot of other entities, right? I'm just kind of giving an example, but it's going to be the event. That's kind of the main entity, right? So if I move it here, all right, I take it, I move it right here. This is the event. And everything kind of works around the event. And as you can see, it's very, very simple. A lot of these apps, you don't need to be a nuclear scientist to build them. They're relatively simple. It's just they built it in a way that makes it easier, right? The app is relatively simple, but they market it correctly. That makes it a lot easier to get customers, right? So this is kind of what we're looking at. And the other thing you guys should keep in mind is that you can build an app in a niche, right? For software engineers, for doctors, for, whatever, veterinarians, for anybody that's looking for some kind of a consultation. Could be in any field, in any niche, with anybody. There's almost an unlimited possibility. In fact, there are unlimited possibilities here. So keep that in mind, all right? The next idea that I want to present to you is Airbnb for X. And by X, I mean pretty much anybody, right? So if you go in here, if you go into Google or Bing, and you type Airbnb for, you're going to see a bunch of results. Cars, work, events, parties, RVs, boats, etc., etc. So what is Airbnb? In a nutshell, Airbnb is all about being part of the sharing economy. You have a property, you have an asset, you have something, and you can rent it out, right? So if I have an apartment, I can live in that apartment, I can sell that apartment, or I can rent it out. That's all Airbnb is. It's about taking some asset that's sitting there, not being used, and making money from that asset by monetizing that asset. That's the best way of looking at it. You're looking to monetize an asset. So an example, this could be cars, right? You can, rent your car out. There are companies that do that already. You can rent your RV, right? Recreational vehicle. You can rent your boat. You can rent, Airbnb for parties as well, right? For events. You can rent any asset or any service. It does not need to be an apartment. Airbnb is actually doing events now. Okay, they're doing events. So you can rent an apartment and you can go out and participate in an event where somebody is selling you services instead of selling you, renting you an apartment, and so to speak. So you can do Airbnb for events. So there's lots of things that you can do. This is a big niche. I'm going to leave it up to you to kind of decide which niche you want to go into. My only advice is that you want to go into a niche that you at least have some experience with, or at least you have some kind of passion in that niche. Because if you're going to go into a niche that you think is all about money, it's going to be difficult to grow, and you need to be kind of interested in that niche as well. And so let's talk about our main structure of the app, okay? You're going to have your UI, right? Does this kind of sound familiar? You're going to have your UI screen. And this UI screen is going to be user-centric, right? It's all about the users. It's easy to sell this app to others, but it's hard to sell it to users, because if users are going to use it, then the business owners are gonna rent their stuff out, monetize their properties. They're not gonna monetize anything if there are no users for it. It's a chicken and egg problem, but the users, you got to start with the users. That is why we're building a user-centric UI here. And this is just gonna list stuff, right? It's gonna list availabilities. You're gonna have a search box here. You're gonna have, you're gonna have, this thing. You're gonna have a bunch of things. This is our search box. You're gonna have an OK button, right? And then you're gonna have various listings. They might be according to the user's neighborhood. They could be somewhere else, but that is the thing. And then you're gonna have a UI that is gonna give them a detail view, right? So they're gonna click on it. They're gonna see detail, and they want to book it or not, etc., etc. That is why this whole thing is user-centric. Now, of course, you're going to have UI for the homeowners as well. That's beyond the scope of this. That's understandable. But that is kind of what you want to do, because the UI for the business owners, for the people that are actually selling those assets, trying to monetize the assets, is going to be very, very straightforward. And so what is our main entity, our major entity here? Well, our major entity is going to be the asset. It's going to be, maybe it's going to be an apartment, a house, it's going to be an event, a car, whatever, right? So we're going to go in here and we're going to say asset, okay? Whatever the asset is, it's all about assets, right? And so here we have an asset. And like I said, if you go in here, if you just go to a search engine and you go to Airbnb, car sale, work party, it might be a party, RVs, boats, or maybe you're doing tours somewhere. That's an asset as well. It could be tours, tours in a city, tours in specific areas, tours for... tours that cover a certain geographical place, maybe a tour around the country, or tour around a specific city, or maybe in a specific place, etc., etc. That is going to be an asset. So if you come in here, this is the major thing. Everything is going to flow from that. You're going to have users, you're going to have business owners, you're going to have customers, you're going to have assets, the type of assets, etc., etc. So like with anything, kind of with the previous examples, this is also going to be very, very easy and very, very straightforward. Last but not least, I want to present you another really, really great idea for building a profitable no-code app. And this is a job board. And this is going to be a job board for X. So exactly with the previous example, we are looking to build a job board for a specific niche. We're not looking out to build a job board for actual work, general job board. We are looking to zero in on a specific niche. So if you come into a search engine here and you type this here, job board for X, you're going to see tons of ideas. Job board for cargo vans, job board for construction, job board for college students, okay? Now, you want to understand that, college students is great, but you're looking for an asset, right? It's all about assets. You can have a very general job board where, somebody can go out and they could present services in all kinds of niches. So you can have a construction person, you can have a painter, you can have a computer technician. We're not looking to do that. That is going to be a very, very tough thing to do. We're looking for a specific niche. So construction is one niche, right? Job board for, IT, right? IT professionals. Maybe job board for Python job board, right? Not even, coders, software developers. Specifically, job board for, Perl, whatever. Perl, job board for Node.js, which is a type of system where you can code using JavaScript. All kinds of ideas. So if we go back to this diagram here, What are we looking to do? Well, we are looking to get users. It's going to be user-centric. It's not business owner-centric. It's going to be user-centric. So if you come in here and we start kind of drawing our shapes, we are going to have a UI that displays these things. We are looking to sell this to users. Very, very important to understand. So we're going to have a job here, a job here. We want the users to order from this system. As a somebody selling services, it's not a problem. If you get users here, if you get eyeballs here, you're going to get people selling services here. It doesn't matter. Somebody who is a construction worker, they're not going to have any problems putting their services on 20 other sites, because if they know that there's going to be a possibility of them making money from any of these sites, it's not going to be an issue. The issue is eyeballs, right? So this is going to be user-centric. So they're going to be seeing different job offers in a specific niche, and it's going to say the price, right? Hourly rate, whatever you want, hourly rate, daily rate, depending on the job, depending on the conditions. And here we're going to have another screen that's going to be the detail view, right? This is where they're going to see all the details, and they can click here and they can accept this specific job, send an offer, send a proposal, right? So this is going to be all user-centric. And what is our main entity? Our main entity is the job here. It's not users, it's not customers, it's not business owners, it's not construction workers. It's going to be a job. Okay, so if we're going here, job, right? Just like in the previous example when we did Airbnb for X, we talked about an asset that's being monetized. Here, it's a job, right? In other words, this is a service that's being monetized, which is a job, really. So here we have a job, and that's kind of where everything is going to flow. So initially, you're going to have business owners that own the job, and then you're going to have users that are going to scroll through all this, and they're going to pick a specific job. They're going to be connected to that job, and they'll be able to kind of select that job, send a proposal, accept the job, accept the offer, because these are going to be offers, right? Being listed, being presented to the users, right? This is a market, right? This is a market where you have certain sellers, like, people, the professionals, and then you have buyers, regular users, just like you and me. And so users are going to go in, they may choose a specific job offer, and they may send a proposal, etc., etc. So the main thing that everything revolves around is a job. And so those were 5 ideas for building a profitable no-code app. In this video, I showed you kind of an overall picture. I don't really dive too deep into the implementation, into the details, because that is something that I plan to do in one of the future videos. So if you enjoyed this video, or you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, definitely let me know below in the comment box. And also, if you enjoyed this video, definitely give this video a fat like. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of these kinds of videos and you are interested in no code. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you real soon.